right, good evening, everybody. It's 6:02. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We're going to go ahead and stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. And Luis, lead us in an invocation, please.
And the grace to serve you in our city and our community. Fill us with your wisdom. Give us the grace for us to make the right choices today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any visitors' remarks today? None today. Okay, at this time, we got the public hearing to receive comments from the property owners concerning the rezoning of Sierra Holiday RV Park from R3 Multifamily District to MH Manufacturing Housing District. Time is 6:03. Not sure if anybody's here for that, but if not, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. At this point, we have a presentation of the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence for Financial Reporting. So this particular achievement report, we've been getting it since 2008. And Mr. Pablo here, Garza, has been leading the effort. I believe this is your fifth year. Is that correct? Fifth year? Fifth, sixth year. So this is an award. It's a Government Financing Officer Association of the United States and Canada has awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to our city, our great city, for its annual comprehensive financial reporting for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2021. The report has been judged by an impartial panel to meet the high standards of the program, which include demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure, to clarify, communicate its financial story, and motivate potential users and user groups to read the report. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by government and its management. So that basically tells me that this is the best of the best, that what we do here is very transparent. And of course, we couldn't do this without Pablo. So we do, Pablo, have an award that we want to present you. So if you can come on up. Before I move on, anybody in the council want to say anything in regards to this presentation that we've just awarded?
Pablo, I want to thank you for your hard work. I know it doesn't come easy, and to be able to do that not only once but 5 years is pretty good. And we're glad to have you here in Los Fresnos. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. It's a great pleasure to have you here. You're a great asset for this community, so keep on doing a great job. Thank you.
Sir, appreciate your hard work. Keep it short and sweet. It's an amazing job, and we keep looking forward to having your service here.
Thank you again. Mark, you want to say any words?
Just thank him, the finance department, and he said for me to be sure and mention department heads because they're all responsible for their budgets and purchase orders and doing the purchasing correctly. So it takes a total team, and then of course with you guys and gal, Gabby, with budgeting and setting, the plan and action of what we're going to accomplish that year. So it takes a whole team effort. So thanks to everyone.
Great job for the city of Los Fresnos. Can't be more prouder. So moving on, we got some consent agenda items. We got a total of 8 consent agenda items. Is there any of the agenda items that anybody would like to pull aside before we motion? If there's nothing anybody would like to pull aside, if there's a motion to be made?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve all consent items from 1 through 8.
Okay, motion has been made
I second that motion.
and motion has been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Moving on to action item number 1, consideration and action to approve ordinance 547, rezoning Sierra Holiday RV Park from R3 Multifamily District to MH Manufactured Housing District. Mark, is there any comments or notes you would like to add in regards to this?
Just in case there's confusion over why would you do that, I think Juan's probably the only one here that we did this back several years ago when the owners of the RV park were going to build an apartment complex there. And so one of the ingredients is to rezone that whole area from manufactured housing to multifamily, so the apartments would qualify to be placed there. What we should have done at the time is rezoned it contingent upon the financing and the approval of the apartment complex. We didn't do that, so the financing didn't go through for the individuals for the apartment complex, so it stayed RV park, and now it's been sold to someone else RV park. So all this is doing is putting it back to where it was before.
Any questions or comments from the board in regards to this action item?
I have a question. Hey, Mark, I know it's the, it says manufactured housing district, but is it the same as RV park? Or is it mobile home, or is it both the same, or what?
It's a portion of manufactured housing, yes. RV parks are.
Is it going to require axle base axles, or is it going to be a pier? What's the difference on that end?
There, without going through the whole zoning, I couldn't say. There's specifics about what is allowed there and what is not. But RVs are allowed in a manufactured housing district, but only in a manufactured housing district. Not all in an RV park also has to have lots. In other words, if we have other manufactured housing districts that don't allow RV parks because it's not set up that way, like I believe on Mesquite and 6th or 7th Street, there's a couple blocks that are manufactured housing, but RVs wouldn't fit there because of the lot sizes and the usage. Does that make sense? So it's spelled out in our ordinance what can go there. And so in this particular case, it was built for RVs, so a manufactured house, mobile home can go there, but also RVs.
So it's very, very similar to like what they called outdoor resorts, where you can put a little bit of both, right? Like
Correct.
William Porter's, okay. Any other questions from the board or comments? If not, there's a motion to be made.
One more question. Is there plans to do something there other than just changing the district area? Is there already something in the works for that area?
It's staying at RV park.
Okay. Mayor, I make a motion to revert back to the original mobile home manufactured housing district.
I'll second that. And with that said, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and raising your hand. Aye. And all those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to approve or reject all bids received for the 2021 street improvement project. Mark, any?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we had talked about this last meeting, and we got the information, and our recommendation is to accept the corrected base bid of $1,166,838.50, plus the additive bid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, as presented. The total of the base bid and the alternate the additives are $1,981,737.25. And then I'd also showed you how those, how the funding, we already have the funding available for those streets to be done. That's our recommendation.
I know we talked about this last time, and I got no further questions. I think we need to move to approve this. And I'll go ahead and make that motion.
I'll go ahead and second that motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. All those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to approve the audit report for 2021-2022 fiscal year. Mark, is this presentation by the gentleman?
Yes, audit is ready for, Quentin Anderson is here to present the information and give you data, and then you're welcome to ask any questions that
Mr.
you
Anderson,
wish.
good evening. Thanks for coming back. Good to see you another year.
Thank you. Did you pass these out, Pablo? Did you pass these out? Yes. Okay. You should, so you have a couple documents from us, hopefully a bound financial statement that was put together in conjunction with working with your finance department, and then a separate communication to members of the council from us as independent auditors. And so, let's first, let's take a look at this excellent financial report that you just gave your finance department an award for, and tell you some of the things that are in it that make it eligible for that GFOA certificate, okay? So, flip a couple pages into the table of contents, right? Any good book, tells you what's in it. So there's that certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting is back on page 7, okay? And so as the report indicates and as the award indicated, the city's received this for several years, and it indicates that you've got a commitment to financial reporting and meeting requirements to go above and beyond the minimum requirements. And a lot of local governments don't make that effort to put together a comprehensive financial report, and that's what you've done, an annual comprehensive financial report. Jump back to the table of contents, and we can flip a couple pages in. The 4th page of the table of contents, there's a statistical section that's identified in the table of contents. And this is what makes your report comprehensive and eligible for the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. You've chosen to put together some statistics. There are 10 years of running historical information about the city. A lot of information that's government-wide information and some fund-level information, and information that's in the report about property taxpayers. Who are the highest property taxpayers? Who are the highest employers? Demographic information that's not just financial information. And so the reader of this financial statement can find all about the city of Los Fresnos and the community above and beyond just the financial information. And so it also has lots of information regarding your outstanding debt, bonded indebtedness, who the principal employers are, and how many employees actually are in the city. So it's a useful document, and it starts out right after that last page of the table of contents with the transmittal letter from management, from your city manager and finance department, talking about what happened in the city. It talks about a little bit of information and history about the city of Los Fresnos, so that somebody who picked up this report and didn't know anything about the city of Los Fresnos can find out economic information and stuff about the local economy and quality of life and a profile of the city. And that's not ordinarily in a financial statement where you're looking at debits and credits and assets and liabilities. So that transmittal letter is a good document that summarizes information about the city of Los Fresnos. Page 11 is what you hired us to do. We're the independent auditors, and you engaged us to audit the financial statements and determine whether or not the work of the finance department is able to generate a financial statement that is fairly presented in all material respects. So we've designed our test and conducted our procedures and worked with your personnel and rendered an opinion. You see that second paragraph, that in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. And so this will show your financial position, which is your health, difference between assets and liabilities, and the results of operations for the past fiscal year. And it'll do it for all the funds of the city. It'll do it for governmental activities, and I'll define those for you as the type of activities that are typically funded by things like property taxes and sales tax revenue and franchise fees and things of that nature. Those are governmental activities, street improvements, things that a government owes to its citizens, right, for good quality of life. And then there's business type activities included in here, and business type activities or proprietary funds are the type of activities like a business would have that derives its revenue from user charges, right? So your water bill, right? Utilities, things of that nature, garbage collection, a fee is charged for that, and like a business would try to charge a fee, and you try to design a fee that is sufficient to recover the cost of operations, right? That's what makes it a business type activity. Run it like a business, fund operations, accumulate some reserves so you'll have a healthy financial position. So the financial statement includes governmental activities and business type activities. In our opinion, after working with the finance department, these financial reports are fairly presented. There's a lot of other supplemental information, some of which is required by government auditing standards and generally accepted accounting principles for governments, and some that is presented as additional supplementary information because you're doing a comprehensive report. The other information in this report has to do with the fact that because you're a government, there's certain laws and regulations that you have to comply with. And so you've engaged us to look at internal controls over financial reporting. Those are controls over how those who generate information to create the financial statements, how well they maintain systems, and we report on whether or not we've identified any deficiencies in that process. And then also we'll generate a report dealing with compliance with laws and regulations. So you know that the city has to approve a budget, and you've got to bid out things over a certain dollar amount, and you've got to have your deposits properly collateralized, or you'll have a problem like SVB Bank, right? That we read about in the paper. So those are government laws and regulations, some in local government code, and so we'll look at those requirements too. And then in addition, because you periodically are the recipient of some federal grant awards, some state awards too, but primarily federal grant awards. We've also been engaged to audit your compliance with the major requirements of the grants that you've received, and we've tested those grants and rendered an opinion. I'll show you that in the back of the statements about whether or not you complied in all material respects with the grant requirements. So not just an opinion on financial reporting, but on grant requirements. And so in that report also talks about internal controls over grant reporting requirements, different than internal controls over financial reporting. So all these reports you're going to find, they reflect favorably on the city and on the work that's been done. And I think Mark's right, probably would say it's not just done by the finance department, because compliance is a citywide event and people are responsible outside of of finance for some of that stuff. So let's look at page 17. Just some quick highlights for you. You've chosen to point out that at the end of the fiscal period, the city's assets exceed its liabilities by almost $34 million. That's net position. So net position, let's look at a chart on page 20. You see a recap of assets and liabilities and net position for governmental activities. I defined those for you, and business type activities, also we defined those. And it's comparative for 2022 and 2021. If you slide down to the bottom section called net position and slide over to the total column for 2022, total net position $34,919,000. The prior year that was $33 million. So it's increased by about $1.7 million. And what net position represents to me is a measure of financial health, right? Net position is the difference between your assets, right? The things you own, and your liabilities, the things you owe, right? So the bigger net position is, presumably the better your financial health is, right? The bigger that difference is, the better off you are. So that net position has continued to grow this past year by $1.7 million. You can see that on page 22, okay? This very summarized statement of changes in net position. These are the activities of the general government and business type activities. And you can see in government activities, you have a pretty comparable amount of revenues as the prior year, about $6.6 million compared to 6.7. You see property taxes is a big source of revenues, $2.3 million, similar to the prior year. You didn't increase your property tax rate, but property values went up. And so there's a little bit increase in tax revenues, and you'll see that sales tax revenues. We've been fortunate here in the valley to see a steady increase in sales tax revenues and in a lot of our governments, and so that's a big source of revenue. And then you get franchise fees from businesses that you're allowed to do business in the community, AEP, things of that nature, maybe AT&T, and so. Those are your major sources of revenues for governmental activities, and then your business type activities is essentially charging for water and sewer services, and that didn't change a lot, $3.1 million each year, right? And so if you look at the total.
Can you please get your mic a little bit? I'm having a hard time trying to understand, so.
Get closer to the mic.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. I appreciate that. So if I'm looking at, we talked about governmental revenues at 6.6 million compared to 6.7. Your business type activities, $3.1 million each year, pretty comparable. If we look at, and those activities are water and sewer services for the most part. So if we take the increase in net position compared to the prior year in the total column for 2022, you see $1.7 million. That's been about the same last year and this year. So that's a good steady increase. That was adding to the $34 million in net position that you had. You had 33.1 the prior year, 34.9 at the end of the current year. So again, steady increase in net position, and so that's the results of the operations for the past fiscal year. Page 27 is also a useful chart because it talks to you about the things that happened in the city in terms of capital assets and infrastructure. And so you have pretty significant balances of amounts invested in capital assets, over $46 million at the end of the year compared to $44 million. And some of your bigger projects was completing the Henderson Road project, a couple $1 million, and there's a hike and bike trail and the construction on the wastewater treatment plant. So there's a couple $1 million there. So that's a good recap of asset activity. Page 28, maybe the last chart we'll talk about, is a chart on outstanding debt. And so there was no new debt during the year. You made payments on your long-term debt, and there's some significant footnote disclosures that talk about each of those outstanding bond issues, and it shows the payments that you've made and what the balance is at the end of each year. So the balance has been dropping now. Right after year end, you guys issued some certificates of obligation. That's not reflected here because it happened after the end of the year, but there was no new debt during the year. So I want to take you to one last chart, page 32. We'll look at page 32 and page 34 and see some of your governmental funds. The primary fund that you guys use for budgetary control is the general fund. And at the end of the year, you had $3.5 million in assets in the general fund and a little over $700,000 in liabilities, but a total fund balance of about $2.7 million in the general fund. And if you slide to page 34, you'll see what a year's worth of activity is in the general fund. 5.4 million in revenues, mostly property tax and sales tax, and then 5.1 million in expenditures. So the general fund balance grew by about 300,000 and has gone from 2.3 million to 2.7 million dollars, and that represents a little bit over half a year's reserves, right? About 52% of a year's worth of expenditures. So I think you want to have your policy probably is typically to have 3 months or better, and so you've accomplished that in those reserves. So back to page 32. One other big fund that I want to point out is that second fund on page 32, the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. All of our communities down here, for the most part, and you especially, have received some funds from the ARPA program, American Rescue Plan Act, and you've received $1.9 million over 2 years, and you hadn't yet spent any of it. You're in the process of spending some of that in the current year. You have until 2024 to obligate it, to decide what you're going to spend it on. You have until 2026 to actually spend it. So you're not running late, but you take an opportunity to plan it out and use it. So those are primary financial statements for governmental activities. Let's look at page 36 and 37, and that's a recap on the water and sewer system. So it'll show over $35 million in assets on page 36 and about 13 million, 12.8 in liabilities. So a net position there of $22.5 million for water and sewer system. And the operating activities reflected on page 38. A year's worth of revenue through user charges is about $3.1 million, and your expenditures were about 2.7, leaving you with a net income of 400,000. So, and that's a recap on the water and sewer fund. Let me take you now to the compliance reports, and that's the last that I would share with you. Back on page 131. Okay, and when we were talking about the independent auditor's report, we talked about issuing 2 separate reports dealing with controls over financial reporting and compliance, and that's on page 131 to 133. And then in addition to that, there's a report on compliance for each major program and internal control over compliance required by the Uniform Guidance, which is federal regulations. And so that report continues on through page 139. Page 141 summarizes what those reports say. And those reports say that we didn't identify any material weaknesses in controls over financial reporting and/or significant deficiencies during that process either. That's part of what helps you to get that certificate of achievement for having good financial reporting. And then we didn't have any matters of non-compliance that came about as a result of our testing. And the same was true for your federal awards. In our federal award testing, there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that came to our attention, and there was no non-compliance either. So that one-page summary on 141 summarizes both of those 2 opinions, and reflects well on the city. So after that, the reports indicate there were no prior findings for you to resolve, which is good. And page 144 is the last schedule in the report. It shows you the federal awards that you received that these opinions relate to, and that was over $2.3 million. And the biggest grant was the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, a little over $2 million. So these were the programs that we included within our testing. That's a fast overview of a big report. There's a few other things to communicate with you in this report. which is called Required Communications for the past fiscal year. And this report, if we began on page 3, kind of talks about our responsibilities as auditors under general accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards, and your responsibility as management, as commission, as city manager, finance department, for keeping books and records that can be audited and can be determined to be fairly presentable. So there's nothing new in those reporting requirements. Page 4 talks about the fact that there's significant accounting policies and sensitive estimates in a financial statement like yours. Page 5, talks about the fact that we did not encounter any major difficulties or disagreements with management during the audit process. There were, at the bottom of page 5, we did have some adjustments occurring during the financial reporting process, some of them provided by you, and we've included copies of all those adjustments with the report. And then page 6 indicates that if you look in the category of fraud and illegal acts, we did not identify or come across any matters we thought were fraud or illegal acts. We'd have to be certain that those are specifically communicated to you. And then there's a section on internal control matters. And so although our report did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, we did have some matters that we communicated to the finance department and to management regarding potential opportunities for strengthening internal controls, and they're included in the letter beginning at page 24. And so we reviewed each of those matters with management and talked about what we found, talked about what our recommendations were, talked about what your action would be to address those types of recommendations, and we feel confident with your responses that you're capable of addressing each of those recommendations. Again, none of the recommendations were considered to be to result in material deficiencies, and so there are items that we came across that we worked on with you in adjusting financials, and the recommendations that we made that would benefit the finance department. That's a quick overview of that communication as well.
A question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
On the ratings, I know we got the letter D as a rating. Is that the highest we can get, or is there,
Let's see. Which page are you looking at?
looking at page 25?
Oh, in our recommendations, we actually go in the opposite direction. How bad could it be? Okay? And so D was a deficiency. There was something we noticed, and we made a recommendation for you to help you deal with it. And let's go to page 25, right at the top. The kind of the least onerous item might be an improvement point. We see this and say, hey, you might consider this, and you say, well, maybe we will, maybe we won't. Right? It's not real important, but it's a suggestion. Right? D is we think there's a weakness that you ought to address. It's not significant, and it's not material, but it could be if you don't start paying attention to it, right? And then the SD, the significant deficiency, would be worse than a D, right? And we didn't identify any of those. And the MW, material weakness, that would be, man, there's a lot of bad things here. And if you had a bunch of material weaknesses, you'd find that it's unlikely that you're getting a good financial report or a good opinion on your financial statements, because it would imply that there's a lot of things going wrong. So D would be one of the lower things of concern for you as a commission, and a MW would be we should be really concerned about that. We should expect management to report back to us on what we're doing about that, right?
Now, is this where you mentioned previously the federal grants that we haven't spent, that we have accrued there and not have used the funds for? No.
No, so that's a good observation. The one grant for the ARPA awards on the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, if that's what you're referring to, you've received $1.9 million. You haven't spent it yet. That's not bad. You didn't jump out and just blow it, right? You're planning for it. You have some things you want to use it for, and you're in the process of doing that wisely. And fortunately, whether you think the federal government was out of control and releasing all this money to everybody, fortunately, they gave you till 2024 to figure out how you're going to use it, and till 2026 to use it. So smart communities are still in the process of managing that and budgeting for that. And you've got an annual reporting requirement to Treasury in April for how you used the money this past year, and you'll have that report every April until you've expended all the funds. So it wasn't. If there were a problem with those funds, one of those codes might mean something, but there's nothing scientific or statutory about this IP or D or SD or MW. That's just something we use to be able to communicate with you and try to do it in a simple way, right? So that's a good question. D. Nobody wants a D. Everybody wants an A, but that's not what that scale is. It's not an A through.
Excuse
D,
me, sir. Sorry.
Yeah.
Any other questions in regards to the information that the auditor is presenting?
I got no further
I have a
questions.
question for Mark. Hey, Mark, on this need for improvement, or have we started working on that? Like, so I know I was reading here on the capital assets as far as the depreciation schedule. It's on page 27.
Yeah, all of them have been addressed, and most of them are already taken care of. From, the federal awards, we have a procedure. We just need to write some more formal things down. But yes, all of them have been addressed or are being addressed.
Thank you, sir.
If there's no further questions, if there's a motion to be made,
Go ahead and make a motion to accept the auditor's report as stated.
I'll second.
motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Thank you, Quentin. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on to action item number 4. Discuss, consider, and adopt a resolution authorizing the submission of a Texas Community Development Block Grant Program application and adopting required CDBG civil rights policies. Mark, can you elaborate on that civil rights policy thing? Grant?
Yes, this is the biannual grant that we apply for. This one this year is for $500,000, which means that our match is 10% to get the maximum points, so it'll be $550,000. What we're proposing to do is streets. If you'll recall, we've had some concerns about 9th Street, and if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about, from 9th Street, Mesquite to Olmo, 5th Street from Mesquite to Palma, and 7th Street from Palma to Fresno Street. And so those would qualify for funding. It has to be in an area of low to moderate income, and so those areas fit. And so we're just asking for submittal for that grant. Same thing that we did 2 years ago when we did the sewer, that we're just now getting funding for 5th Street sewer lines, 5th Street. I think there was one on 7th Street as well, but 4 different areas. And the required civil rights policies, just what's required by law to follow those. And we do already, so.
Any questions from the board? If not, if there's a motion to be made,
I'll make a motion to approve the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program.
a motion has been made to adopt action item number 4. Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second that motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Action item number 5, discuss and accept community-wide housing analyst performed regarding impediments to fair housing for the city of Los Fresnos. Mark?
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, this is goes with the item before, something we have to approve. And unfortunately, they use 2010 census information, so it's very skewed and very old, but that's what is required by the government. So that's the information that you see there. A lot of that's already changed now, but what it does is just so that we can be sure that we provide fair housing to all residents. And on page 74, you see the breakout of apartments, Section 8 housing, and then our units from our Las Palmas housing, and so which is Cameron County, and then ours that we when I say us, that's not really operated by the city, but Los Fresnos Housing Authority. So that's all the statistics and what's required for that same grant.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions from the board at this time?
That Section 8 housing, 1,006 units, that's including the apartment complex there next.
Yes, sir.
Now, has any other apartment complex unit, anybody been interested in building? And we're meeting our minimums on it anyways.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion at this time?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve, accept the community-wide housing analysis performance, action item number 5.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
And all those who oppose, do the same. Motion carries. Discuss, consider, and adopt a resolution to designate authorized signatories for the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is for that same grant, and what it does is authorize the mayor or myself to sign for that grant, and then on the depository line, it's the mayor, myself, finance director, and city secretary, just like all of our other accounts. So it's a standard that we follow on all of those. Still requires 2 signatures. Anything 5,000 or below, 5,000 or above, it takes 3 of those 4 individuals to sign on. So that's standard of our policy.
Yeah, you answered my question. I was gonna ask you, you answered my question. So anything over 5,000, it takes 2 signatures or?
3.
Three signatures? All right, thank you.
And of course, it doesn't even get to that point unless, if you haven't approved it, so it has to be prior approved too.
Any questions or a motion from the council?
I'll make a motion to approve and adopt the resolution to designate authorized signers for the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program.
Okay, motion's made.
I'll go ahead and second that, Mayor.
Motion has been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Consideration and action to approve sponsorship for the Texas Municipal League Region 12 12th Annual Training Workshop. Mark, this is the packet we got from City of McAllen for a training held on South Padre Island. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm hoping everybody can attend at this one. We can have a full council.
Yeah.
Be nice to be all in this
Also
together.
on that, what is it we're gonna approve, whether it's the 1,000, the 2,000, 3,000, do we have to prove that too or no?
You can approve 0 or any of those other amounts. It's up to you. This is not to go to it. The mayor from McAllen sent a message to our mayor asking us to be a sponsor to help pay the expenses of having that training here in the valley. Previous years, we have not been a sponsor. 5-6 years ago, we were. Last few years, we haven't. No reason, special reason why or why not. That's just up to y'all.
Did the mayor or city manager McAllen mention what that sponsorship comes with along with?
I think it was in there, right, Mark? There was gold, silver, bronze.
Yeah, you're just helping put on the event. That you don't get any.
Did they put our name in at this event?
Probably, but I don't know.
I think they do. Last year,
This-
they had the sponsors.
This is the letter, is the only thing that came with it, on page 78.
Well, honestly, I don't want to be carrying any money to something I don't know what we would be getting to anyways, so,
Mark, what was the minimum amount there that we could contribute? What was the minimum entry point? Just curiosity.
1,000, the silver sponsor, it's page, on page 78, all of that information is there. There's a platinum sponsor, 3,000, gold sponsor, 2,000, silver sponsor, 1,000. And it says all entities making a contribution will be acknowledged at the event. And what it is just trying to get different cities to help pay for training that comes here in this area.
Do they have copper for 500 or? Look, my opinion is, obviously we're helping the city government. We're being invited. I would say the minimum at the silver, that way it's $1,000. We have our name there, and you know, obviously we don't want to go to 3,000 at this point, but who knows? Maybe another year we will. But you know, I think 1,000 is a drop in the bucket for me. as far as what we're doing here. Plus, all the cities will know our name pretty well, and, you know, I don't know what the rest of the council thinks.
Mayor, is that a motion?
I'll make a motion to $1,000 to silver.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded for $1,000 on the silver sponsorship. All those in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Silver sponsors. Moving on to action item number 8, presentation of the 2023 retail market analysis.
Bianca, can you give them the first one? The retail trade area, retail demand outlook. This is the study that was approved by the Community Development Board. What this document does is helps us to recruit businesses to our community. And this first one is the demand outlook. In other words, what businesses does it look favorable for them to locate here in Los Fresnos? On page 2, it's just a quick summary of our retail trade area. As you can see up on the map there, it's quite large. And this will be verified through some other information that we share, but it goes deep into Brownsville because of our school district. Rancho Viejo is included in it, Green Valley Farms towards San Benito, Arroyo City on the north end because all of those folks attend our schools. And then also through Bayview and up Laguna Vista. In fact, some of the analysis will show there's quite a few people from that area trade here in Los Fresnos. You can see our population in the trade area in 2023 is 40,943. Pretty significant number that should attract almost any business now. Income down towards the bottom. Our medium household income is 61,000. Average household income is 87. That means there's some few very wealthy folks around. Then the next group just kind of shows the age of our population and the percentages, and then the race distribution. Nothing in there that is not anything that we don't know. As you can see, the Hispanic population, 93.62%, which is right in with way our school district in this whole area. Page 2 actually goes into numbers, and this is what's favorable. As you can see, there's a description. There's 2023 demand, that's today. And then a 2028 demand projection, and then it shows the growth. And then CAGR is compound annual growth rate. And looking at not only where we've been, but where we're going, anything over 1% is very, very favorable for a business to locate in the Los Fresnos trade area. As you can see, the very first entry, they've combined just general total retail trade, including food and drinking places, at 282,100,964, and the demand is over the next 5 years is going to increase, and that growth rate is 3.5%. So it's very favorable if you think about 1% being good. 3% is pretty awesome. As you can see down the list, you got motor vehicle and parts dealers. That's 3.4, and you just keep going down the list. The fourth one down there is other motor vehicle dealers. I would imagine that's like used cars. It's 4.1%, so it's even higher. So this is something that we can, as as our Economic Development Corporation and myself, when we're going to meet people, we can show this. Electronics and furniture is 2 and 3. Building materials is almost 4%.
Mark, paint and wallpaper?
Paint and
6%?
wallpaper, 6%.
What does that constitute, like painting walls or?
Yeah, there's not a lot in
Is
Los
that the reason
Fresnos.
we got that one that, on the corner there by the ATM of IBC?
Yeah, mostly they do is for, what do you call it, the sheetrock?
Oh, sheetrock stuff. Okay.
Tape and floating.
Tape and float
A
stuff.
lot of is what they do. They don't do a lot of, they don't do any retail. Mostly it's contractors that come there and get, but not a big paint supply. It's more the texture stuff.
How about, I've been hearing a lot from residents about another pharmacy. Everybody's been talking. I think even the pharmacists from Walmart, it's like, we're overwhelmed. You know, even the small companies are overwhelmed. I would imagine that number to be higher than 2.39% since there's such a high traffic for that.
Well, when you look at 1% would be good and favorable for a business. 2.39% is over double the 1% is still good. So don't get,
I guess I'm overthinking. I see the 6 and the 3s and I see 2, so.
yeah, don't get caught up in, because if they all said 1, that would be very favorable for a business to locate here and have a healthy profit and make money. So the 2.39 on pharmacies is
So it basically shows that our city is very attractive right now in several
very
different
attractive.
industries.
All the way down, even, you go to the second page and I'll show you one that's not. And it's not, just
Department stores.
just at our, in Los Fresnos, this is pretty well nationwide for some reason. Clothing and clothing accessories is something that's been now being purchased a lot online. And so you don't have a big
Demand?
demand for that. And so you can see those up until the jewelry, luggage, and leather goods, they're all negative or just very little bit below 1. But the jewelry stores are good, but the rest aren't. It's not just Los Fresnos, that is pretty well nationwide.
Do we put this report out anywhere in public for
Yes,
resellers to look at?
We haven't yet. We're waiting to present it from you, and then as we get through this, I'll go over some things that they're gonna update on it and make it clearer so that it's a better presentation. Sporting goods, very good again. General merchandise stores, 2.5, almost 3%. And then all of your office supplies, 3.2. And then down below, food services and restaurants, 3.5. That is very, very good for any kind of restaurant to do well here. So
Yeah, there you go.
The 0.47 means nobody chews gums or what? They don't chew gum.
0.4,
And it's chewing needlework and pieces of good stores.
yeah, not a lot of people sewing these days, evidently. So, but very favorable, and I mean,
It can definitely,
again, remember, 1% is good. So when we have all these 3s and almost 4s on everything, almost any business that you could dream up would do well here, and this report reflects that.
it'd be nice to send something like this to HEB or something like that, let them see all the
I
opportunities that
can
are
assure
here in
you
this
we
town.
will. The next one, Bianca, if you'll give that to him. This is the demographic profile. Once a retailer or a business sees that, hey, it's very favorable in Los Fresnos to do business, they want to see what kind of demographic profile we have. Once again, on page 2, that's exactly the same page that you've seen before, but if you'll turn to page 3, that starts getting into specifics. Our growth between 2010 and 2020 was 12.18%. Phenomenal growth. You can see that all of these projections they're doing is only based on a 2.34% between 2023 and 2028 in the next 5 years. The reason why they're doing that is they're being very conservative. So if you're in a business and you look at this and you see a 3% or a 2.5% or even a 2%, which means it's favorable to locate here, and then you go over to the next page and you say our growth rate was 12% in the last 10 years, but we're only projecting 2.3%, it's probably going to be much, much better than this shows. But we want to be conservative to be realistic with maybe a downturn in the economy. And so 2.3% is all that we're projecting as far as numbers.
So it's like instead of being at the top of the quartile, you're kind of in the lower end, so you can be a little bit more realistic.
Right. But yet it still shows, man, it's a good place to do business. Then it goes into the different race populations. I won't go into that. It's just, even it has population by ancestry. It means something to different people depending on what type of store they'll bring. You can see on the bottom right, population by language spoken at home. 32% of our homes speaks only English, while 66.92 speak Spanish at home. So there's none that says what only speak Spanish. That would be a good thing to have, but that's not there. But anyway, it helps as people advertise to our population how they need to advertise. The next page 4 goes into our population, and you can see all those different percentages. The average age is 35 in our trade area. The median age is 31. Difference between averages and median is average, you take all of the ages, divide them by the number of people. The median age is you take, if you have 20 people, you go 20 up and 20 down, and whatever that one in the median is that age. So that's why it's a little bit lower.
Interesting that there's a little bit more female than male in this
Yeah.
town.
Not much, 0.13%.
Yeah.
But
Now, I know these calculations, as you mentioned right now, was for conservative, but as we keep adding these neighborhoods, I know we have the one going down Highway 100. We should, every neighborhood that it adds 100 or plus blocks, it's gonna raise that. I would see a lot more than that 1.5% increase.
correct. You can also see the average age of the male is younger than the female by about 3 years. Just interesting data. The next page, on page 5, is marital status. Total never been married is 32%. I thought that was interesting. Married with both spouses present, 45.91%. Married but one spouse absent is 8.3%. So all of these the information tells the story about us and tells retailers who we are. You can see the numbers of widowed people, and then how many of those are men and how many of those are women. There's more women that are widowed than men. My interpretation of that is we die, they stay.
I saw the bachelor's degree or higher, only 18%, 18.82.
Yep, you go into
Bachelor's degree or higher.
education, so that's also an indicator of different businesses, who they cater to. Households, 11,742 residents in our trade area. Remember, that's our trade area, not our city. So we're looking much bigger than our city. Household by incomes, The highest percentage is 15 is 50 to 74%, 50,000 to 74,999. And then all of those, the median household income is 61,000. I think we said that already.
Now, some of this, Mark, came from that survey that we were doing door to door a few months back. I know they came knocking on my door and they asked on education and
Yeah,
income.
they do it, take it from the census, and they take it from studies and various surveys they do throughout time. Household size, two-person households, 24% of our households are two people. 21, almost 22% is three, and 19% is four. Average household size is 3.4 people. The next page, about the middle of the page, you see their household by number of vehicles. That's interesting and something that we need to know. It's good for us to know for roads. 38.8% of our population has two vehicles, 17% has three. Then families above poverty, 79.9%. Then you have employment statuses and how many are government workers, state workers, federal workers, and then it breaks down into what their occupations are. And once again, we don't go through all those, but it's for a business to locate in this area, they would want to know some of those things. Bottom of page 6 shows workers age 16 and above, transportation to work. 82.52% of our people drive alone to work. Only 9.97 carpool. And then less than that on the others, on walking and bicycling and public transportation. The next page, page 7, estimated travel time to work. 8,777 workers takes 15 to 29 minutes to get home, to get to work. Average travel time in working minutes is 24 minutes. So what that just tells us what we already know. We're a bedroom community, and so people drive 15, 20 minutes to get to work on an average.
That housing value thing is pretty interesting. That's pretty much the average housing value range. Is that what that one is? The next?
Yes. Right before that, I wanted to mention the owner-occupied. About 77% of ours are owner-occupied, and tenant, which means rental homes or apartments, 22%. Then the mayor, what you were saying is, what's the value of the average home? The median is $135,436. About 22% of our people own a home between $100,000 and $149,900. Then you've got some on either side of that. Below that, it shows most of them are single family, one unit home, 77%. And then the structure built I thought was interesting. 48% of our houses in our retail area have been built since the year 2000. Almost 50%. So you take half of them weren't here 23 years ago. So.
I believe it.
Demographics.
Will this be posted online as well on our city
Yes.
page?
Yes, we will put that.
Awesome.
Give them the next one with Walmart. Another piece, the tool that we use is what are our shoppers and what are those businesses do and where do they go, where do they come from? It helps other businesses to know whether they want to locate here. What I have for you tonight is Walmart and then 2 months of Whataburger. We also have it for McDonald's, we have it for Dollar Store, we have it Dollar Tree, we have the others, but it's much the same data. On page 2, you can see that estimated number of visits, 1.8 million visits in the year 2022. Estimated number of customers, unique customers, 161,400. And the frequency is 10.2 times a year. People on average visit there. It'll be interesting when I get to the last page because you'll see people from all over the state visited there. That means they visited one, so I might go there 30 times in the year. They go one, and so when you average that together, it brings that real low. But the average time that they're there is 34 minutes. The next page, page 3.
I don't know, Mark, but I can't get out of there in 34 minutes.
I do. Boom, boom. I go grab what I want and go. Page 3 is interesting. All of those blue dots are someone that visited this Walmart over the last year. Isn't that crazy? All over the Upper Valley. Where the red dot is a huge frequency of that. And you can see Raymondville has got a red dot on it. Up near Alton is a little red. Rio Hondo is red. If you've been to Rio Hondo, you can either come to Los Fresnos to Walmart, or you can go to San Benito or Harlingen. So we're close by. As you can see, you got Bayview, you've got, and then Laguna Vista. I wanted to point Laguna Vista red. That means a lot of folks from Laguna Vista frequent our Walmart. The other thing to notice is down into Brownsville, you see quite a few pretty big clumps of red. North Brownsville is, of course, in our school district, so if I have a chance to come to Los Fresnos to my kids' stuff, go to Walmart and go home, even though I live on Alton Glore and I pass by that Walmart there, people are coming here for that. So it tells a story and says something about that we have said all along as our school district boundaries impact business in our trade area.
Not to mention, Mark, this town is not so heavily populated, so people just don't want to go to the clutter of Boca Chica or
Right.
802, so they'll come over here to do their shopping.
And something I also ended up picking up off that Laguna Vista red dot, every time I'm out there at the golf course, everybody tells me that this Walmart has differences than the Walmarts over there in the HEB, so
Yes.
they prefer purchasing on this end.
You are correct. They tell, a lot of people say that. Customer journey on page 4. And this tells you, prior to going to Walmart, 61% are at home. So I'm at home and 61% of the people go from home to Walmart. 6.8% go from work to Walmart. Then you can see Dollar Tree, Stars, McDonald's, but the biggest share of them are from either home or work. And then what do you do after you leave Walmart? Almost 80% go home. Only 2.9% go from Walmart to work. And then you can see Dollar Tree and Sunrise, which is on the island, and McDonald's. Other favorite places that people that go to Walmart visit are there. I won't bore you with that, but you can see those other places that they visit. Page 5 is interesting on the hourly visits. What time of day do they make those visits? If you really look between noon and 8 p.m. is where the top spikes are. Yeah, there's some traffic 8 to 10 and 11 and some traffic after 8, but it really, the bulk of their traffic is noon to 8. Not only does this tell Walmart a lot of things that they probably already know, but it tells other businesses that might want to locate here, hey, there's a lot of people around Walmart between noon and 8, I can take advantage of that. Daily visits, when are they? You can see almost all through the week, they're pretty even. There's not a huge spike on Saturday and Sunday. We know Pete from the prior manager that is retired. He's always said that most most Walmarts, here's your 5 days of the week and here's the weekend. This one has never been that. It's been more like this. They are a little bit busier on Saturday and Sunday, but not huge like 90% of other Walmarts. That tells a story also. And then the bottom of there shows your length of stay. Again, Luis, you're probably one of the guys that over there in 45 to 59 or 60 to 74.
I'm skewing it, I'm telling you that right now.
Then page 6 is zip codes, and it tells you where they come from. What is interesting is Los Fresnos is 45%. San Benito, you might go, wow, 24%. But if you know our zip codes, just to the north of us, toward Laureles, a lot of that area is San Benito's zip code. What I've asked them to do, and the reason why we're not posting it yet, I'm going to have them overlay the zip codes with our map so that when you look at it, you can see where those people are coming from. If you can see the Brownsville, 78520, 78575 is Olmito and Rancho Viejo. And then Brownsville's got several different ones. And so you can see that we've got quite a few businesses from them. Rio Hondo is on there, as we noted already by the red dots. And then Port Isabel, you see 2.3. Laguna Vista is included in Port Isabel and South Padre Island. So then you can see people from Arlington, Baytown. So there you go. And I can assure you those people probably don't come back a lot because they don't live here unless they're visiting for a while, like winter Texans. So that's Walmart. One more real quick I wanted to show you is Whataburger. Only two months of the year they were in 2022 they were in existence, but this again tells a good story.
I talked to them the other day, and they said that their business has been just skyrocketing. School buses, I mean, they've been having a lot of business. And it's more of like a dinner crowd or afternoon, not really morning or lunch. It's more of an afternoon thing.
The only 2 months, which have been November and December of 2022, the estimated number of visits is 34,000. So that's a lot. Number of estimated unique customers is 17,600. Visit frequency, almost 2. Most people visit twice in those 2 months. Interesting, average dwell time, I'm sure they don't like this number, is 34 minutes. The average dwell time at Walmart it's 39 minutes. The average dwell time at Walmart was 34 minutes. So it's a little bit higher at Whataburger. I would imagine just because of the newness, crowd, I'm thinking they're wanting to hope that shrinks down because, especially the drive-through, they don't mind if they sit inside and keep eating. The next page, page 3. If you'll remember the graph from Walmart, very similar, except you can see big red ones over in Edinburgh, which is weird. Again, Arroyo City, you see it. Lots of Laguna Vista, Port Isabel, way into Brownsville, and a lot of people in Harlingen, between Harlingen and San Benito. So that's where their business is coming from. The next page, on page 4, the customer journey. Prior to going to Whataburger, 48% of the people came from home, 11.8% from work, 11.4% came from Walmart to Whataburger. 1% of the people went from Memorial Park. I guess they were walking and they said, I need a Whataburger. Post, what do people do after they eat a Whataburger? 72% of people go home, 6.9% go to Walmart, 5.8% go to work. And you can see the average time where he talked about that. Page 5. This represents exactly what the mayor just said about their evening time. you can see the peak from about 4 to 10 or 11 even. It's real spiked. The other is from about 10 to 2 or 3, but it's not near like it is in the afternoon and evening. So what this data reflects is exactly that. It also reflects Monday through Friday, very, very heavy. I think that has to do with school, probably. Saturday and Sunday, not so much, which I think is good for them because they can really, really grow their weekend traffic with people going to the island and traveling. The next page, page 6, is again the zip codes, and you can see pretty much the same trend. By the way, all this data is taken from cell phones. As you go into places, they know how long you've been in there, what you buy, what you look like. No, not what you look like, but anyway.
Scary.
A lot of data, and very good for our businesses that we'll be able to use as a city. Val will be able to use as a chamber. CDC will be able to use it, and
Desi
not only
can
to
use
give
it
to
too,
our existing new businesses, but our existing businesses, it can help them too.
That'll be nice. It'd be nice to do a presentation to the local businesses and have them come in and go over some of these numbers with them.
The only one that I disagree, Mark, is on the visits. When you say it's 34 minutes, my wife takes 3-4 hours there, so. So I'm against that one.
Yeah, because I go for like 5 minutes, and so she's there for 3 or 4 hours on 5 minutes, so it brings that lower. But that's all I have on the report. Very good information.
Good information.
And it's updated information that will help us promote the city.
Great information, Mark. Thank you for that presentation. It was very insightful. Moving on to the acknowledgement of the city manager's reports. Is there any questions or comments into any pending projects? Or Mark, any updates on anything on the bids that we're doing for that repair on, is it 10th and 5th?
No, nothing to update on that. I will update one thing that I received since this went out. I pretty well explained everything on the different projects. This one was the hike and bike trail connector from Brownsville to here. They had some difficulties in getting easement. If you'll see that first page, you can see the blue line that goes off to the right, and then it goes to a red line. That's where the original trail was going to go. It's going to kind of go back away from 1847. They couldn't get property owners to work with them on those easements, and so they worked with TxDOT and the property owners along 1847. So from where it ends, about halfway, well, just north of the drainage ditch, it'll extend from there all the way to where it ties into Alvarez Court, the sidewalk there, and then so it'll go from there into our trail system. From there, that'll be the new phase 1 and phase 2. They have the funding for it. You can see that on the next page, it says the work schedule. The plans, hopefully they'll have the plans and everything for review throughout the summer. The bidding and awarding of contract in July, August, and September, and construction start in October, and then it'll go through about this time of next year. So hopefully within a year we'll have that trail done, which is a good.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be great.
Yep.
It'll bring a lot of people coming in here.
So it will no longer go on that levee, on that drainage on the back end, I believe the blue and the purple?
Correct. Now, they did say that because of the Bahia Grande Trail, what they want to do is tie our trail from somewhere about in here through the Bahia Grande all the way to Laguna Vista to the
The nature center.
that
what-
nature
yeah.
center, the nature center there in Laguna Vista, be awesome for us, because if that's tied for bicyclists, for hikers, whatever, that's a pretty good jaunt. When they come back, either before or after, Los Frenes stands to gain, because our trail will be connected to theirs, and hopefully it'll help
It'd be nice to
drum up business
put
too.
like a bike stop where you can get a drink or something like that, something to eat, and it'd be a good little grab attention, grab people to come in. That's gonna be nice. Can't wait to that to complete. Any other projects anybody want to discuss from the board in regards to what we got pending?
So we're gonna receive that COVID money, or do we have received it already?
The COVID money, we already have it. Remember, y'all voted to use the funding for sewer,
Hank?
water tank, which we've already done. It wasn't on his report because it happened after September 30th. And then you just approved the bids for the street project, which included about 700,000, I believe, in sewer and manhole improvements, which that will be paid from those funds. So as soon as we get that project underway, Jose Munoz from Guzman and Munoz Engineering will revisit the rest of it, and we'll put those out for bids to get the rest of the sewer and manholes done. The reason why we're going that direction, if you recall, is when we get rains, any infiltration into those bottlenecks our sewer plant, makes our sewer plant not be as productive. And plus, you don't want to treat rainwater. You only want to treat sewer water. So we've got it spoken for, and good use of it too.
Mark, in regards to acknowledgement of city managers' reports, I know we recently got something with like the water district, right? There was something that they came and checked or something like that, and it was something that wasn't filtering through. Is that one of these, is that regards to one of these projects, or is that a different topic? That letter we got from TECQ, or what is it what was it that, it was not a fine, but it was a warning. A warning letter that we have to write back what we did. We took care of that, right? That's,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. When the sewer plant was upgraded, part of it is a grit system. Can you let him report that? Since
yeah, because since, I don't know if the
Rick's
board's
here.
fully aware of it, so that way.
Rick's here so that
since
he
it's part
can-
of the project.
He can explain it, because he's been involved
Thanks,
in it
Mr.
from the
Riggins.
beginning.
Appreciate it, Mr. Riggins.
Council. There was the new grid system, there was a problem with it. It wasn't working correctly. And at that time, at the time that TCQ was here, it wasn't working, and there was some grit that got into the chlorine contact chamber through the system. And they happened to see it, and that's what that report was about. I think it's being addressed right now, and it's fixed, or it's being fixed, I'm sorry. It's being fixed, and as soon as some parts come in, they were looking for some parts. And that'll address that.
Yeah, because it didn't come from us. It was something that was wrong with the actual unit itself,
It was the
right?
unit itself.
There was already been replaced 3 motors, and
There was a pin that sheared, and it caused some problems, so it wasn't working correctly.
the gearbox.
Yeah, in the gearbox. Yeah, and so it's been resolved, and the parts are coming in, they'll have it fixed. So it just takes a couple of weeks for the parts to come in.
Good. I was just kind of curious because I remember we looked at that letter. Just wanted to make sure we're on top of
They
that.
just happened to be on their inspection tour when that happened.
Awesome. Thanks for the update. I was just wanted to see, we had heard about it, but I don't know, I didn't follow up with Mark since the last time we talked about it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
I'd
Mr.
forgotten
Reagan.
too.
Any questions?
Yeah, Mark, you brought up something about we're gonna remove that water tower or the water tank. Are we gonna do that soon, or it's gonna stand by on that?
I wasn't sure, I'm not sure the question.
You brought up a long time ago that we might remove that water tank that's over there by Whipple Road.
No,
Talking
sir,
about the one that says Los Fresnos on it?
we have to have it.
Yeah.
We have to have it for pressure, for that north side of town. The only water tank that we've talked about replacing was the ground storage tank at the, water plant itself. Maybe that's what you were talking about. It's about 128,000 gallon tank, and that's being done as part of the water treatment plant, upgrade, and we paid for it with, COVID relief funds. Maybe that's what it was, and that's already been done.
All righty, any other questions in regards to the acknowledgement of city managers' reports? If not, if there's a motion to be made?
I make a motion that we acknowledge the city manager's report.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. Acknowledgement of department head reports. Any questions or comments about any of the department heads? If not, if there's a motion? I'll motion that we acknowledge the department head reports.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. And all those who oppose do the same. Motion carries. The time is now 7:34. We'll go ahead and